I don't think we ever go into the Rugby Championship focusing on winning it. I think it's game by game by game, and what happens in each game will determine what comes next.
Who wins the Rugby Championship and why?
It should be South Africa because where they are and how they're doing and whatever. But they're 80 minutes from stepping on a stone and not recovering.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
All Blacks versus Argentina then, as you know, folks, and this opens up the Rugby Championship for New Zealand and Los Pumas this weekend. First match up, obviously, South Africa versus Australia. So much fantastic rugby to look forward to, and a Rugby Championship which has just got many, many narratives attached. It's important, so important, probably facing South Africa, especially at home for the All Blacks, the two most important games that we've played since the Rugby World Cup final, taking nothing away from the other games that we play and the other opponents. And it's a hell of a way to build up 2 times in Argentina. Well, a very special friend of the show and a man who's been so generous with his time for so long for us, over a couple of decades, Frankie Deges joins us again. And Frankie, I haven't seen you since the World Cup in 2023, and you look well, mate, and you're in your Argentine blue.
Yep. Dressed for the occasion. I see you're wearing black, so
Thank you.
thought I'd match it by wearing half of my colors.
We were speaking with Scott Robertson as part of the press conference this morning. Can tell you that there's only Wallace Satiti and Tamaiti Williams on the injury list for the All Blacks. Everyone else is available, and that includes Scott Barrett, who we expect to return as captain. And the fact that Beauden Barrett is fit means that he should take that number 10 jersey. But this will be the strongest All Black side that Scott Robertson can possibly put out there at Cordoba.
Well, that's interesting. Argentina has basically probably the squad squad available except for Tomajayo, the loose head, who's injured, but he had been kind of dropped for the last game against Uruguay, and Emiliano Boffelli, who hasn't played almost for a year. So yeah, we have a very strong squad as well. So it's going to be an interesting couple of tests. It's good to have the All Blacks for 2 tests. Because A, we get double chance of seeing them. B, they get to enjoy a bit more of the country. And in fact, we don't know when they're coming back again with Zanza contracts up for renewal and very uncertain future scenarios. So hopefully it won't be the last in a few years, but it's a very, very interesting series.
Of course, I'm going to ask you about, beating the All Blacks at home for the first time and trying to do that because everyone asks you that question. Before we get to that, though, just trying to assess where both teams are at the moment. The All Blacks played 3 tests, as you know, against a French team that wasn't their strongest side. And at various times during that, we looked really good. And at various times, we looked kind of patchy. Argentina, yourself, beat the British and Irish Lions before they came on tour and then lost twice against England. So let's start with your lot. And where are you at the moment? And do all the new players come and change that narrative anyway and mean that whatever has happened in those 3 tests and against Uruguay, we can't really count that?
It's very hard to say because Argentina and what happened whenever they beat the All Blacks, which was last year and before and whatever, they're not consistent. I mean, if they have a very big win, there's a natural drop in standard focus, game plan, whatever. So they can't keep it up there, which is something that I guess it's for a shrink to work out. Or it might be even bigger than the coaches. But playing against the Lions in Dublin was very big, was huge. It came with its challenges because even though the Lions were getting together for the first time and what that means. Our teams hadn't been together, hadn't seen each other for 8 months as well. And it's although they try not to start from scratch, it is a kind of reunion and they've got to get the blood flowing again or whatever. But they played good rugby against the Lions. And then it was expected that they were going to be good, strong, and better than England that had a few Lions missing, but we shouldn't read too much into that because the England side was really strong. But they disappointed in that they didn't get things going. They were never into second, third gear. It's strange. It's that lack of consistency which has damaged Argentine Argentine rugby or the Pumas for so many years. So they were a bit better against Uruguay. Uruguay is not of a standard. It's a tier 2 country. But even then, the first half was quite tight, and in the end, you knew they were gonna get tired. Everybody knew they were gonna get tired, and it was 50+ win. But yeah, I think now with the players that are coming back and back to full strength, which we are not at full strength as England wasn't. I think that part of the focus, the concentration, or whatever is going to be back. Will it be ready in time for the first test? We'll see, but it could go that we draw the series.
1-1. You think that you will win one of these two?
Yes, hopefully. And again, the Pumas have beaten the All Blacks in New Zealand. They've beaten them in Australia when the Rugby Championship was played there because of COVID. And we still haven't beaten them here. I was at the ground when they drew in 1985. That was for many years the closest we had ever gotten to the All Blacks, and finally we broke that dam and the water started flowing. So we know what it means and what it is and what it takes to be the All Blacks, and I think that the team owes it to themselves.
Frankie, how much or what is more important would be creating history and beating the All Blacks at home or winning this rugby championship? I asked the question of Wales fans at the moment Wales haven't beaten us since 1953. What would be more important, beating the All Blacks again or getting through to a World Cup final? Is it a relevant question at all for Argentina rugby? I mean, how important is this thing to beat us at home?
No, I think it's important to beat the All Blacks at home because it's one of those cups we still don't have. At the end of the day, it's creating history, or it's the goal of creating history, and that would create history. I don't think we ever go into the Rugby Championship focusing on winning it. I think it's game by game by game, and what happens in each game will determine what comes next. I mean, if you win the first one, you want to win the second one, and that puts you in good stead. And then you got we go to Australia. What is it? Yeah, we go to Australia. We go to South Africa, and then the Argentine Rugby Union gave away one of the home tests, or they're doing a big joint venture and playing in England. So it's at a home or an away game or whatever. But what I'm trying to say in a very long way, I'm sorry about that. We've never started focusing. This is the year we want to win the Rugby Championship. Or at least not that we know of. Well, the teams speak in their inner sanctum. You only get glimpses and small drops of it. But I think it's about creating that history that we're missing. The fact that every other team has lost in Argentina, but the All Blacks.
Where do you think the All Blacks are right at the moment? Given what happened last year, we lost 4 games, that French series. We kind of consider that we're not rebuilding at the moment, but we're trying to get back to a point where we want to be considered the number 1 team in the world again. And we're not that because South Africa are clearly that. But your assessment of where you think we're at and how difficult an opponent we always will be, especially this weekend.
For Argentina, the All Blacks, and for most nations, the All Blacks are always the team that is up there, and that's like the mirror you want to look at yourself in. So in that sense, that aura, that's a strength they have, and again, I think New Zealanders are very, very strict on how they read and perceive what the All Blacks can produce. The game has evolved in such a way that now everyone's competitive in its own different way and for its different little windows. And it might be that Argentina is good for 2 weeks and they beat the All Blacks, or it might be that Ireland have 5 good years and suddenly they beat the All Blacks at home. But the All Blacks have this aura, and it won't take away, and they still have the players. And I mean, if you had to select a World 15 to go and defend the planet Earth, there'd be many All Blacks in it. So again, I mean, maybe maybe it's how you perceive the lack of success, because you guys are expecting way too much, or are too accustomed to seeing the All Blacks so high up the ladder that it hurts not being there at the top. But the All Blacks are a very good team, and France had very good players as well. And I mean, it's like always, when you got nothing to lose, you just throw yourself into it, and France did that. Whereas in previous times, France, when they had nothing to lose, they would just go on the piss and be drunk and don't show up.
It's true. Tell us about Cordoba, because for a lot of New Zealand, never been to this place. Mario Kempes Stadium. Mario Kempes, in case you don't know, people, if you're watching, 1978 Football World Cup hosted in Argentina, first one that Argentina won. That was before Maradona. He scored 6 goals. He scored 2 in the final. He had big long hair, very handsome man. He must be a massive hero. And to have a stadium named after him up there, I presume it's a football area, or is it actually a rugby area? I don't know.
Cordoba is smack in the center of Argentina. Would be if you drove from Buenos Aires to Sydney in a straight line. Auckland would be a bit further down, but if you drew a straight line from Buenos Aires to Chile, Cordoba would be there in the middle. It's about 800 kilometers from Buenos Aires. The All Blacks will take about 45 minutes to fly there, an hour. It's a wealthy part of town, Greenland, good farms. It's one of the oldest cities in the country, the oldest university, and even though it's a big soccer center, and they have a lot of following in 2 clubs which hate each other, as is always what happens here. If you have yin, you have the yang. It's also a very big rugby center for Argentina. There's been a number of very good internationals coming from Córdoba, and the stadium is a soccer stadium, of course. It's a multi-sport stadium, let's put it that way. But it was built for the 1978 World Cup, which you just mentioned, and Mario Alberto Kempes was wearing number 10, which, as you mentioned, Maradona, I'll add Messi. It's a very iconic shirt.
Yep.
And we've had very iconic number 10s the 3 times we won the FIFA World Cup. So it's going to be a very, very, very buzzing town. There were 10,000 supporters watching the Pumas train on Saturday.
Wow.
There was an open training session at the stadium, and even organizers just couldn't believe it. And they've been building up a lot of activity in the build-up. Argentina moved there on Friday, so it'll give them a good week there to just get the place buzzing. I think the All Blacks only arrive on Friday, so they'll be in a quieter scenario here in Buenos Aires.
2 quick questions, we'll let you go. Just in terms of where rugby is at the moment globally, as you say, the Sansa contracts are up for grabs. We've had a Lions tour. We know they're in place. The All Blacks looking to play 3 tests in South Africa next year. We don't know how the international calendar is going to unfold with this new competition that's coming in as well, with the top 10 teams. How important is this rugby championship right now? And also, is it one of the most even that you've seen? You know, it's been going since 96. It appears, I think, looking at it, that it's as competitive as it's ever been, probably more competitive this particular year.
I'll start with the last question. Yeah, it looks like it's very competitive. I guess it's hard to get odds on what will happen. I'm not a betting guy, but it's hard to imagine who's going to win it, because anything could happen here. South Africa is going to win, I think, both tests in against Australia, but then going to New Zealand, I mean, that's as big as the Lions series. Okay, you won't have the Green Brigade traveling as the Lions travel in massive numbers, but in terms of rugby and what it can generate, that's going to be a huge series, and it's going to be very interesting what happens there, and that could decide what happens. And then, I mean, the Wallabies and the All Blacks, that's always open, and then depending what happened in New Zealand, Argentina will have a sniff of a chance or not. It is a very open tournament, and that's incredible. And with regards to this probably being the last of its kind, it's very sad. If you just look at what it did for Argentine rugby, we didn't start in 96, but we started in 2012, and it just generated so much for Argentine rugby. I mean, after that, we played in 2 semifinals in Rugby World Cup, 2015, and then the last time we bumped into each other in Paris 2 years ago. And again, the game has grown. The game is solid. It just allowed us to generate high performance, not only here, but in the region. Because a lot of what happens in Argentina that gets filtered through to the regions through South America Rugby, which is the regional association, through Super Rugby Americas, which is our franchise tournament that is played also at the start of the season from February to June. So it's been very important, not only for Argentina. I know we're far away from everyone now. There's no direct flights. It's uncomfortable, but it's important to keep it going for so many reasons other than money. But then money dictates. And with regards to this future competition, and I only know what I read and what I've heard here and there, and I tried asking a couple of players, and they said that they know, and I believe them. I can't believe it has the wheels to take off. I mean, Live Golf took off, but that's individual sport, and you follow a golfer. I mean, are you gonna follow the Sao Paulo whatever with 3 Kiwis, 2 Aussies, 1 Argentine?
I don't think so.
Well, what's the sense? And in a sense, Argentine rugby, and that's something that is very important. And also it happened with New Zealand, and then South Africa and Australia kind of did it differently. But every player here plays wherever they need to play to be available to play for Argentina. So if the standard here, if they need another tier to the standards, they move overseas. And they do it only because they want to play for Argentina. And they do whatever they do, whatever they put into the game to be available to play for Argentina. And that's an unanswered question with this
R360.
With this creating. I mean, players are going to be available. Will nations want to use players that are playing in that because it's taken away from their own product? So whatever. So I doubt that Argentina are going to be, or Argentines are going to be heavily involved, but it might be a franchise for former players. I don't know. I mean, but we've talked about it before, Martin, and we've enjoyed rugby. We've enjoyed very good rugby with an international atmosphere and whatever, and hopefully my kids, future generations, enjoy the same.
Same. Last question for you then. Who wins the Rugby Championship and why?
It should be South Africa because where they are and how they're doing and whatever. But they're 80 minutes from stepping on a stone and not recovering. I mean, they've been so up there that they forgot what it means to lose and what it generates. So if anyone can bring them down, it won't be. I don't think it'll be the Wallabies. Although the Wallabies played very well against the Lions and they did a lot better than what they were made to look. Then it's up to the All Blacks to decide in New Zealand.
DSPN.